What's up, everyone? It's Brian from Exact Cybersecurity and IT, and we're here to talk about more cyber attacks that are happening all over the place. And now we have one in the manufacturing industry with a global household brand name, Clorox, dealing with what we think is a ransomware attack. So remember to like and subscribe to our channel. If you learn anything here today or you like me in any way, shape, or form, I'd really appreciate the support. Moving right into what's happening over at Clorox and just the manufacturing industry in general, guys. Manufacturing, I just think cybersecurity is poor across the board in most industries. And I'll debate anybody on that all day long. I talk to CIOs and CISOs all the time who think like we're great, we have the best cybersecurity, yet here we are with talking about multiple companies being hacked, cyber insurance claims being the highest they've been in history, ransomware attacks being the highest they've ever been in history. Everybody thought we were getting ahead of this problem at the end of 2022. The reality of it was there were quite a few forces at play around market forces, geopolitics, what have you, and things kind of died down a little bit. But man, things have come back with a vengeance. And here we have the manufacturing industry being one of the most targeted industries in the world when it comes to ransomware and cyber attacks, mainly because they know if they can get the systems, they can shut down basically production lines and shut down the business completely, which is pretty much what happened here on August 14th when Clorox, their IT team, detected the attack and took immediate action by halting suspicious activity and shutting down affected systems. But unfortunately, these systems were required to go offline, which basically shut down significant parts of the company. Systems remained offline as a cautionary measure with enhancements to security measures. So this ongoing disruption, which is now in day 3, which most experts at this point believe is ransomware, but we don't have any specifics around the event, which in December, that's going to change when the SEC rules go into effect, because on day 4, you must disclose a lot of information about cyber attacks. Clorox is one of the top companies in the world. They are publicly traded and certainly would fall under this. Operations were affected. Manufacturing and distribution processes have been disrupted, which I mentioned is a reason that cyber criminals love to go after the manufacturing industry, because it really hurts them when they can disrupt these types of systems and they can't move product to sell things. Financial losses are absolutely 100% going to happen here. They're going to be potentially significant losses simply because of the downtime and recovery efforts, even if the data itself is not encrypted. It could be just exfiltrated, and that could cause problems for them even if they didn't encrypt it. And now they're basically saying, hey, we stole this data from you and we're in your systems and we're not going to get out until you pay us. It could be that bad. It could be the potential that there's no file encryption here and data was just stolen and they're threatening to release that data. And you're also dealing with financial losses on the back end of this with class action lawsuits, them being unable to fulfill contract orders. All these types of things are going to come out and about in the next several months, depending on how long they're down and how bad the situation is. That will give us a pretty good determining factor in what these losses are going to be for Clorox. As I look at this and analyze this situation on what we know that's been made public so far, Clorox did have some kind of business continuity and plans in place. They did activate these contingency plans to try to mitigate the impact and reduce the blast radius of this event and just try to ensure product availability as best they can at this point. You want to make sure that you understand with this stuff, guys, that ransomware attacks don't necessarily mean that your data was encrypted. It could be just exfiltrated or stolen with the threat of it being released. And I want to emphasize that again, because the manufacturing industry and a lot of industries that aren't aware of what's going on out there today probably think it's just about viruses, malware, and files being encrypted so you can't use them. When the reality of it is that if they can get control of your systems that produce your product and shut those things down or take control of them and not not give them back to you until you pay them, that is also how they're kind of extorting companies. It's not about encrypting data. It's about taking systems offline and making them unavailable until you pay them, and you won't be able to make a single product or ship a single product until you do. So this highlights the importance and why I talk about, and this is a big thing for the manufacturing world. We see it a lot in the Department of Defense world when we work with companies who have things like CMMC compliance and they produce things for the federal government. Federal government, they want to make sure that your operations can continue to produce the product that you're contracted to give to the federal government on time and on budget. When those things don't happen, they jeopardize the ability for that contractor to continue working with the federal government. These are definitely things that are challenges in a lot of different businesses, right? And I use on this channel all the time kind of like the silly analogy of like, you don't want the marketing person taking down the whole operations, right? And that's kind of what we're reading the tea leaves here on over at Clorox, and what we see a lot in the manufacturing world is that they live on these what we call flat networks. They don't segment them, and what that introduces is a very easy playground for a hacker to take advantage of a company. When you implement things like network segmentation, yes, it takes time, yes, it takes money, it takes skill to achieve these things. It doesn't happen overnight, and you're not going to type in Google network segmentation and somebody's going to show up on a magic wand and do this for you in a week or something like that. This is a very methodical process that you mature to in a business, but you need to start doing it now and start working towards that in your business if you want to not have a situation like Clorox is dealing with. That's just like one piece of advice I'm going to give business leaders out there to start wrapping their head around this so they can deal with these problems. Why you want to do network segmentation? Because you don't want that production environment that's running your lines, producing your products, you don't want that going down. No other computer in your environment should be able to communicate with that. And nobody should be able to jump from, say, your network that your marketing team or your admin team work on to your warehouse or your production or your assembly line computers. Those things should be completely separate. So if you do have an issue in the business side of things, it's not shutting down your operations. Think about that in any kind of business. It applies a lot to the manufacturing world, but any business. If you look at your whole entire structure of your company, can your marketing team take down your operations? And is that really necessary? I would take a hard look at that and make sure you're putting things in place so that does not happen and you can't be impacted in this way. Clorox is continuing to investigate to determine the nature and extent of the breach, and they don't have a definitive timeline for restoration. Doesn't sound good when those types of things are being said, in my opinion. They did open up a dedicated channel for communication and updates to customers, suppliers, and the public. I just want to kind of leave this video and help you learn from the Clorox incident. I believe every business can look at an attack and learn from it and say, how can we do things better in our business? So number one, events are going to happen. It doesn't necessarily have to be a cyber attack. It could be a flood, a fire, a natural disaster. It could be a rogue employee. I've seen the gamut when it comes to data loss and critical asset destruction happening in more ways than you can probably dream up. Business continuity plans are in place so you can be prepared for any type of event. And a lot of times you want to kind of focus in on cyber events or cyber attacks as part of this, which is good. And I recommend that you do that. But you're doing this to sustain the business through any type of an event, not just ransomware. So I think a lot of times business owners think of preparedness and contingency planning and business continuity planning as like protecting my business from hackers if we happen to have an event. And some business owners don't ever think they're going to get hacked, so they never do anything about this stuff, which in my mind, in today's day and age, with this channel and everything I'm giving you guys, that's crazy talk. If you're not doing anything today, you're just completely not in tune with what's going on out there in the world and what's happening in businesses on a minute by minute basis today. Make sure you're prepared. Start working with a professional on your cyber resilience, on your business continuity, on your incident response. These are all things that if you plan ahead of time, it's going to make an event, if you happen to have one, which you're more likely to have one than not these days, you can get through it. And that's the important thing. When you have an event, you want to be able to get through it. But if you do nothing, I guarantee you the chances of you not making it through that event increase exponentially. So get to work on these plans today. If you need help, reach out to our company, or I'm sure you can find more on Google just as well. You want to make sure that you're also doing an immediate response, right? Prompt people to take action and assess the situation quickly. I mentioned it that before on other videos that I've done, that getting information out there quickly to the right people, to your partners, letting them know that there's an event so it can help them deal with the blow. It's all about reducing the blast radius. And when your company gets hit, it affects more than just your company. So getting ahead of things, getting communication out early, getting the best communication out as quickly as you can really does help the rest of your partners, your vendors, your customers deal with the situation, find alternatives to maybe your product or your service while you're recovering. That's definitely things that businesses need to consider. In the Kronos case, as I mention all the time, how are you going to run payroll if your payroll company is down for 3 months? You got to have a contingency plan for those types of things. Keeping your stakeholders informed of the recovery efforts is a really big piece of this. Stakeholders being everybody involved, from management to the people helping you recover, and then to the people who are impacted by recovery. So have a plan in place. That's the most important thing I can tell you. And what I want you to take away from this video, I have a ton of advice on protecting and how businesses can prevent this stuff in the first place. But I wanted to use this Clorox attack to say things like this are going to happen and it's okay. It's how you prepare ahead of time and what your contingency plans look like that matter more than anything today, because big companies like Clorox, who I would imagine were doing at least something around cybersecurity, they can get hit. So that means that your company can get hit. And the key here is a cyber resilience. Reach out to a cyber resilience professional, which I am here at Exact IT. We can help you get through these types of events. We can help you plan for them properly and make sure that you're making the right decisions ahead of time so that when an event does occur, it's not chaos and everybody knows what to do and you get through it and you're able to maintain your business. So again, like and subscribe to the video. I'll see you in the next one. Take care, everyone.